So the San Diego County Board of Supervisors voted unanimously to pass a resolution to oppose Proposition 64. That's the California state initiative, ballot initiative to legalize the adult use of marijuana. This vote took place during a regular Board of Supervisors meeting on October 4th of this year, 2016. The Board of Supervisors meetings are open to the public, and the board allows public participation. As a resident of San Diego County, I certainly wish I could have been there to add my voice in support of marijuana legalization, but I wasn't able to attend. I found out too late, I'm a super busy guy, and the dog ate my homework. Luckily, I have with me my first ever guest and someone who attended and spoke at the meeting, Starlight Mundy.
Hello.
Starlight is a thought leader and speaker in the cannabis space. She advises companies in and out of the industry to build their digital marketing strategies. Her background is in startups, branding and identity, product development, and design. I'm super grateful that she agreed to join me today so that she can share experience at the supervisors meeting with you all, and we'll ask her about her opinion on Prop 64 as well. Starlight, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So this County Board Supervisors meeting, I had a chance to watch it online, and it's pretty clear that you were walking into a hostile environment. Two members each from the district attorney's office and the sheriff's office made some pretty slanted presentations about the harms of marijuana, and members of the public were allowed to make questionable claims as well. And so it was left to you and two other brave souls to make the case for marijuana legalization. Can you tell me a little bit what it felt like to be up there in front of everyone and making your case in such a hostile environment? Were you nervous? Was it exhilarating?
It was kind of exciting. It's difficult because the San Diego County Board of Supervisors had already decided that they were going to not endorse Proposition 64, so it was a bit of a low-stakes environment in that those who were requesting that they pay more attention to the proposition were definitely in the minority. What was really surprising was the level of old-school stigma and prohibition thinking that was spoken about by the people who were there to vote in favor of being in opposition of 64, and that stigma came as a bit of a surprise to me. I forgot how backwards sometimes people can think about cannabis.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how much propaganda there still is happening, and just how backwards things tend to be when it comes to this
Absolutely.
issue. So you got up and made the case that the county supervisors should not oppose Prop 64. Can you tell me a little bit about why you're in favor of Proposition 64?
Absolutely. Proposition 64 has some serious social impact built into the proposition. We do a lot in regards to reparations for the war on drugs, expunging people's records for nonviolent cannabis offenses. These are all amazing and are really above and beyond the economic benefits that have already been demonstrated in a state like Colorado to bring to the scale, size, and scope of the state of California. It's really going to have an impact on our economy. But above and beyond that, really, I think the impact that California legalizing cannabis will have on the world cannot be understated. You mentioned, actually, in one of your videos, how Dale Sky Jones mentions how politicians can often view legalization from a very black and white standard. Did they vote yes or did they vote no? And right now, a vote on legalizing cannabis from the state of California, which is the 7th largest economy in the world, will have a whole lot of impact that is very important for the rest of the world at large.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. The rest of the country and the rest of the world are definitely looking to us as an example for marijuana legalization. One of the members of the public who stood up in opposition to Prop 64 at this Board of Supervisors meeting, he's actually a medical marijuana patient. And he, like some other folks out there, are definitely threatened by the possibility that Prop 64 tramples their Prop 215 rights. So I'm wondering if there's anything that you can say to these people that might ease their fears or give them something to think about that'll just maybe have them thinking, maybe a yes vote isn't so bad.
Absolutely. First of all, the authors and advocates who helped create and write this bill have all come out and said that Prop 64 does not tread on the rights that are protected under Prop 215. I'm sticking with that stance because the people who wrote it are the ones who would know best of all. But the thing that I think is really more important above and beyond all of this is that this particular step in legalization affects a lot more people than just the patients in California, and that no matter what happens November 8th, this is a journey of advocacy that continues on after cannabis is legalized in California. It's important for us to realize that this is just one milestone in the long journey to normalizing cannabis across the world.
So I think you're completely right that the path to cannabis legalization is a journey, and it's important to, at this point in time, recognize all the people before us that fought the good fight. But moving forward, we have to keep moving forward, and this is just the next step. More people want to participate, and we got to regulate and have laws, and that's kind of just the way it is, right?
Yeah.
The last question here, getting back to the meeting specifically, I couldn't help but notice that the unanimous vote on the resolution to oppose Prop 64 and the people who support it, it doesn't exactly provide an accurate representation of the public opinion. In mid-September, Public Policy Institute showed that 60% of likely voters were in favor of Proposition 64. So how does that make you feel as a San Diego County and a California resident?
Well, it makes me feel good as a California resident that California is leading the country in understanding what the really next step is for cannabis legalization. That being said, I think within the the medical marijuana patient kind of collective within the cannabis industry itself, there's a bit of an echo chamber, and so much of what seems fundamental to those of us within the cannabis industry is still wildly unknown to many of the people who are residents of California. And it's very important for us to reach out, have personal conversations with those that we know, and answer some naive questions so that we ensure that our local populace not only goes out and votes yes for Prop 64 in November, but that they pay attention locally and are involved at their city and county levels. Part of the reason of that I suggest that is because California has already demonstrated that some cities and counties are preempting Prop 64 with local bans, and we need to be paying attention now because those bans are actively occurring where we live. And unlike the San Diego Board of County Supervisors meeting, we need to have a lot of people show up and speak publicly to defend the benefits of cannabis and the new cannabis economy.
So yeah, you're absolutely right. People need to show up. People need to be informed. People need to get out and vote. People need to not be afraid to have conversations with their neighbors and their coworkers and the people around them. I'm not necessarily saying you need to go out and blast your Facebook and make a big ruckus on Twitter, but if you're in favor of legalization of marijuana, I think you should be prepared to have that conversation with somebody who may have some stupid questions or may need to have some more baseline information before they're. Go ahead.
Absolutely. It does a lot in forwarding the movement for normalization of cannabis when people feel like they can speak about it comfortably. But in order for us to get there, we need to be comfortable, those of us who are on this leading edge of the industry, having those conversations with our family and friends, because they often have naive understandings that you can influence with a thoughtful conversation. This is really important as well because in order to support, the growth of the cannabis medical side in California, we should be gathering new patients, and hopefully with legalization will come an influx of people who are discovering cannabis as medicine for the first time.
So there you go. I think we're going to call that the ender. Starlight, thank you so much for joining me. If you want, take a minute and rep what you're up to these days, and let people know how to get a hold of you.
Sure, absolutely. I'm continuing the cannabis conversation over at craftmaryjane.com. You can find me at craftmaryjane on Twitter and Instagram and all the usual places. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Yeah, if you could call it a show, but yeah, let's do it again. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you liked today's video. If you did, go ahead and hit the thumbs up or even subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. And maybe check me out on Twitter as well. I'm at Greenbounding. All right, thanks. We'll see you next time.